So I want to show you guys how to detail an engine bay with two products, and that's it, because this is one of the highest margin add-ons for detailers, particularly in the beginning stages of their business, because it requires so little work, so little time, and so little product. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is using my pressure washer here to rinse it down. And the only reason I'm addressing this is because a lot of guys get really freaked out when you talk about rinsing an engine with water. The reality is there are exposed pieces of an engine that are electrical components, right? So I can see them right here. And one of the easiest ways to identify it is obviously you have a battery and you have to watch out for a battery, but most modern engines have a battery that's watertight, and even to access it, you actually have to click in the top and remove the top, and you'll see the rubber seal that keeps it watertight. But other than the battery, you've got exposed wires, right? So I can see a yellow, white, and blue wire there, yellow, white, and blue wire there. I can see a couple wires down here. One of the easiest ways to avoid that, if you're interested in trying to kind of keep those things from getting wet in any capacity, is simply to take a couple little plastic bags and wrap it around that area. You don't need to tape it or anything like that, but just covering it doesn't require a lot to do that well. But I'm not going to be doing that just because this is an engine that I detail on an annual basis, and so I don't worry about it because I've done it so many times. Now, the other simple warning that I would give you is this: I do not detail any engines that are older than 15 years, simply because as engines have kind of progressed in modern entry-level cars, Honda, Toyota, the Mini Cooper I'm dealing with here, they have gotten far more watertight, and because of that, I just like to keep that as kind of an insurance for myself in terms of what I do and don't do. So what I'm doing here is something that I would do on a vehicle that is 2005 to 2010 and beyond. Now, like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is just rinse it, and just so you guys know, generally speaking, if the underside of the hood was really dirty, I would go ahead and do that as well, but because I do this on a regular basis annually, this is actually not very dirty, and so I'm not going to address it. But I would do this first because all that dirt is going to fall down, and you might as well clean this first and let the dirt fall down and then clean away the dirt here. Now, a lot of times under the hood you have kind of this pad, and that soaks up, kind of like a sponge, soaks up water and chemical. In that case, I avoid cleaning the pad and I just clean around the pad. That's generally in older vehicles. But anyway, we're going to start with the engine here because this is the dirty part. Now at this point, the only thing I've done is blasted it with my pressure washer, so I've gotten it wet. Something that's really important to understand about the dirt on an engine is that while engines can get super dirty if they're not detailed regularly, the type of dirt on the engine is not super sticky or stuck to the engine. So if I pressurize my pump sprayer here and then I create kind of a stream effect with my chemical, I can actually knock a lot of dirt off of the surface level areas without doing any brushing or agitating. So I'm just going to pressurize it like this, and I can basically try to hit the main areas that show themselves really obviously. I'm not going to be blasting directly any electrical wires or anything like that. I'm using a bunch of product because this is super clean degreaser diluted 3-to-1 in this pressurized pump sprayer. So it's a very inexpensive product. I can use a bunch of it, and this is part of what makes this such a high margin service for detailers in the beginning stages, because I'm probably spending, let's say, 25 cents total in terms of product in order to do this, and the only other cost is my time. Now that's all I'm gonna do. Now the reality is, in this particular situation, I wouldn't even have to agitate anything because the engine is already super clean. Though I could take my brush, and the three brushes I like to use are my Easy Detail brush. This is for wheels, my, of course, just classic detailing brush, and then my long handle wheel well brush. And I could actually scrub here. I could use this to get in between certain things, right? It's very easy to kind of push this down. I have to watch myself to make sure I'm not pushing on anything, but it's easy to get in between things like this. The thin bristles get in a lot of tight areas. The detailing brush gets in tight areas as well. And of course I can reach back with my long handle wheel well brush on a larger vehicle. I'm not gonna do any of that because while yes, this is a unique situation that it's so clean, most engines actually have a piece of this where while they're not super clean, they can actually just be rinsed after my degreaser. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now at this point, it's totally dry or mostly dry, and there's kind of a twofold way to finish here. I've got a product called More Shine Tire Shine from Stoner, and I'm gonna use this to spray on all the black pieces, because basically this is just a dressing. So this is gonna like make it look black, right? Deeper black. It's gonna make it look really clean. And in addition to that, it's going to protect it. So that's part of why this engine is so easy to clean, is because everything's always protected all the time, right? So anytime I clean it, it's always protected. You can use an aerosol can dressing like this. It's not gonna be, dangerous. You're gonna let it dry in the sun or in in the shade. And basically I'm just gonna try to address all of the necessary black pieces here. I'm not gonna spray it on the metal because it's not gonna do anything to that. But any place where there's kind of black plastic trim, I can spray it on all those pieces. Now, the reality is this is not the least expensive way to do it because we're talking about how high margin this is. So I like to reserve the More Shine Tire Shine for like tires or things like that where they kind of has to be used because it's a little bit more expensive of a product than what I could be using here. And for clarity, it's not like it's super expensive, but it is just more expensive than an alternative. So one of the alternatives that I like to use here is Chemical Guys VRP diluted, something like 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 or even like 3-to-1. You can dilute a little bit more than you think, spraying it all over the engine. A lot of people compare Chemical Guys VRP to Meguiar's Hyper Dressing, and the reality is Meguiar's Hyper Dressing is a little bit of a higher quality product, but it also kind of had a price hike pretty recently. And so I would not use kind of a higher quality product on the engine here because this is something that's covered, never gets touched, never gets seen. The only thing I want is some sort of dressing as a sacrificial barrier, and that's it. I don't need it for anything else. And so Chemical Guys VRP diluted 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 is totally fine here. And when you dilute it at that level, especially because of the cost of a gallon of the product, you're talking maybe 20 cents worth of product on the engine. So once again, your cost of product is basically nothing. So just to give you guys a quick after look, it's still drying, but you can see once again why this engine is in such good condition all the time. It's just always maintained, always cleaned, and it looks fantastic. So guys, there you go. That's how you clean an engine literally without even touching it. It can be done this way in most scenarios, and what a lot of guys don't understand is even if you've got an engine that's dirtier than this, well, yes, there's scenarios where you have to scrub it a little bit. What people don't understand is that even if I were to wash this engine and have a little bit of dust and dirt left over afterwards, it's really not that big of a deal to have a tiny bit of dust and dirt left over on the engine and just cover it with the dressing. Like I said, it's not gonna harm anything, that's for sure. It's not a structural or an engineering problem. At most, it's a visual problem, but that's one of the ways where you can not cut corners detailing engines because of course you're doing a great job, but my point is just getting your time down. It's a very simple way to do it. You don't have to clean it perfectly. The dressing covers up some of the stuff that you might not have gotten in those areas that are really difficult to reach, that might be dangerous to reach into anyways. So guys, if you want a list of other products that I use in other areas of detailing, I actually created a free PDF that's just a top 12 tools and products list that are all available for under $500 for those of you who are on a budget. It's for free in the YouTube description box below, and I'll hook up all the tools and products I used in this video in case you want to get your hands on those as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and as always from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.